Some of the other things, elevation certificates we've already talked about. Flood zones, flood zone X, flood zone A, flood zone AE, even VE on the coast now. No impact on rates whatsoever in the new system, which is really a good thing. I've always been a big believer that flood zones should not determine rates, because basically what you're saying is everybody in the same rate with the same type of house is going to have the same rates when it comes to these zones. The other thing is I feel that zones also mislead people to think that they don't need flood insurance because it's not required. So one big thing that FEMA is also focusing on with 2.0 is helping people understand what is the real risk. There's a lot of companies out there, like I think it's Flood Factor. They give people a lot of different ones. If you go to realtor.com, they even have it on their site of what a risk score. We even do that on a risk tool we built for our website. From 1 to 100, it tells the customer, hey, what's the likelihood of my property flooding? How close to water am I? What flood zone am I in? Is it required, and what's the estimated premium? Because you want to make sure they understand that true risk. Because a lot of times they're just so used to looking at flood zone X or AE, is it required or not? Half the time is all they care about. Rebuilding costs. We've talked a lot about that with the 10 things to know, is that plays an important role. Property elevation and the lowest habitational floor. And we're talking about here is like crawl spaces and really even basements now, that even though you're rating it with a basement, the lowest rated floor, it's going to be the next floor up in a lot of these situations. Types of flooding and flooding frequency, you're going to start to see a lot of this in areas that aren't on the coast. You're going to start to see a lot of these rate increases with 2.0. Flood zone X, traditionally $400 to $500 a year. What we're seeing as an average across the country now is $1,200 to $1,500 a year. So that's pushing a lot of business to the private side. And we'll talk about that a little bit later today on the private side about how these things are having impact. Distance to water. As I said, these are a lot of water sources people don't think about. Dried up creeks. You build a pond in your backyard, your flood insurance could skyrocket because of how the distance to water, because FEMA's really actually updating this every year. So it's not like traditionally where they looked at it once and they're not looking at it again. That's the whole point with the 2.0, is they understand risk is changing. And so each year you might see a big impact difference in premium because the type of flooding changed in your area. The distance to water changed. Maybe they drained a river and your flood insurance goes down. But something else you want to take a look at on there as well. If you've ever looked at a policy and you see what the full risk premium is, that's a good idea too, to know what the premium could go to over the next 3 to 5 years. It's not guaranteed, but it's probably a good way to have a conversation with a customer of, hey, when they ask you, hey, what's going to happen in the future? You can't guarantee it, but this is kind of a good guide.